Hey, welcome to the Small Business Made Simple podcast, brought to you by socialmediaandmarketing.com.au. Being in business is never easy, but it can be simple, or at least simpler. Join me, your host Jen Donovan, every week where we focus on marketing, social media, and working towards simplifying your business. You with me? Let's do this.
Dream it big, 'cause someone out there listening. Everyone's got a voice to give, and it's time I heard you whistling, 'cause there's no point at all, in dreaming small.
Hey, hello and welcome. Welcome to episode 25 of the Small Business Made Simple podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in today and lending me your ears. I know you have lots of options to listen to out there as far as marketing and business podcasts go, so I really appreciate you giving me your time today. Now, I know I've mentioned countless times on this podcast and basically everywhere else if you follow me online and offline, but I've talked so much about the fact that we need to know who our client is, who our who is. But you know what? I realized I've never actually dedicated an episode to it until, of course, today. Today, we're going to go through who your who is, where to target them, how to target them, and so much other gold. Now, if you've done this exercise before, trust me, you are still going to want to listen in because we go deeper, just so much deeper than most. So keep listening. But more of that shortly, of course, because we have to do Discovery of the Week. So as I just said, today we're going to talk about who your ideal client is. And one of those things I'll talk about shortly is getting to know your competitors a little bit more. So I thought this great little discovery would fit in really well this week, and it's Google Alerts. Did you know that you can set up Google Alerts? Basically, you just go onto Google News or Google Alerts, that's really hard to say, or just Google Alerts and set up an alert for key terms in your industry, names of your competitors, or perhaps even economic factors that are likely to have an impact on your business. But just do yourself a little favor. If you do set up Google Alerts, just make sure you're not alerted any more than one day of the week because you can choose how often you want to be alerted. But basically what we don't want to do is we don't want our homework on our competitors or what the industry is doing or what the economics in the world are doing get in the way of actually doing our business. Making sure it doesn't have an impact on the real work that we're trying to do, which is, of course, run our own businesses. So like I said, to set up a Google alert, you just go to google.com.au/alerts and basically follow the prompts there. And I know I talked about it in way of competitive analysis, but it's a bit of a pro tip. You can actually set up a Google alert for your own business or perhaps even your own name so that you can see when people are talking about you or make references to you, which of course can always help with engagement and giving great value and continuing the conversation. So I think that's pretty cool. Of course, just a little disclaimer, my discoveries are just that. I am in no way affiliated with any of them. And of course, I always promise to tell you if I ever am. I just love them. I love the response you guys are giving me. And of course, I know that you love them too because you tag me on Instagram and send me messages telling me just how much you do love the discoveries and what a difference some of them have made to your lives, making it, of course, simpler. Of course, if you have a little discovery, I'd love you to tag me or send me an email at jen@jendonovan.com.au. Of course, tag me on Instagram at Small Business Made Simple. I'd love to share it with my audience and help them make their life a little bit simpler. Okay, so let's get into it. How many times have you said, my business could get really big or really profitable if only I could find the right clients? If you've said something like that or something along those lines, then you're really not alone. I think every small business owner says something like that or has a thought to themselves, something along those lines, at least once in their business journey. And the good news is there are many ways to find your right clients, but we're going to talk about 4 steps that can be applied to any business to help you find them. So the first step is know your who. As I said, I've spoken many times in this podcast about knowing who your ideal client is, your ideal customer. Know who you're attracting. Understand and know who you're attracting at the moment. And if that's not who you want to attract into your business, then it's time to get to know the person that you do want to attract into the business. For example, if you're attracting clients or customers that are completely price driven and they are driving you up the wall, then you need to have a look at why you're attracting those people. What is it in your marketing or in your messaging that attracts people who are particularly price driven? And of course, maybe you need to start looking at both those elements of your marketing and your marketing methods and your message to start attracting the right people into your business, the people who aren't price driven. And I think at the end of the day, we all want the people who just aren't driven by price. Because, of course, if the only thing that makes us different to our competitors is price, it's basically a race to the bottom. Effectively understanding who makes an ideal client allows you to build your entire business and your message and your products, services, sales, and even your support around attracting and serving perhaps quite a narrowly defined customer group. And of course, newsflash, not everyone is your customer. I know lots of businesses who are afraid that if they market to a niche group for the exclusion of all others, they think that they'll missing out on money from the groups that they're not targeting. And I can absolutely guarantee you that if you target your marketing to your niche group, then your business will grow quicker and more profitable than if you use the old, spray and pray targeting, which is basically targeting everyone with everything. If you can niche down, then your business is more likely to succeed, especially in the world that we live in now. Even when talking about the world we live in now, one of the most classic examples of focusing on a focus group and marketing to that niche group is when Pepsi toppled Coke in the 1980s. They toppled them by focusing on one small section of the population with all their marketing, with their messages, with their services, their sales, their support, everything. They just focused on one part of the market. And basically, they toppled Coke. And it actually created what we call now FOMO, the fear of missing out. The people that Pepsi didn't target were basically thinking, we don't want to miss out, so we're going to buy it too. We're not Pepsi, we're not Coke. Clearly, we don't have that sort of marketing budget. So let's get down to what it looks like in our business and start the process of knowing who our who is, who your who is. I've spent most of the day yesterday creating the most comprehensive workbook on defining your ideal client. It digs really deep into who your who is, and when I say comprehensive, I absolutely mean it. This workbook is what, some marketers would charge hundreds for, but for you today, I've actually got it as a downloadable. So if you simply go to socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/client and you can download the workbook there. Because of course, finding and serving your ideal client is just so important in business, whether you're just getting started or whether you're a long-established business. Focus on discovering a narrowly defined ideal client will save you months of wandering in the dark trying to be all things to all people, and of course will make your business much more profitable. And I'm not going to sugarcoat this for you guys. So many business owners I know don't get it. They don't understand who their ideal client is. They don't understand the power of knowing who their ideal client is. Their business will never grow. It will never be as profitable as what it could be because they don't know who they serve. They don't know who they want to attract. And frankly, they don't know who they're actually attracting because they've never sat down and done the exercise to the degree that I'm offering in my workbook today. So please don't be one of those business owners. Perhaps put an hour aside this week, download the workbook and get stuck into it. Of course, if you have any questions or queries, head into my Facebook group, Like-Minded Business Owners. Put your question out there and I will be in there for sure to answer them all. Can you hear it in my voice, guys? Can you hear how passionate I am about knowing who your who is? I really hope you do. But you know what? I'm going to move on because the second step is knowing what you want to be famous for. Yep. you. You can't determine who your ideal client is if you don't have a firm handle on what your business is, what it does best, and what you want to be famous for. I've run into too many small business owners over the years who haven't mastered the basic elevator pitch and simply can't explain their business when they're asked, "So, what do you do?" If this is an area you think that you maybe need to work on, then a bit of a suggestion is to go back and have a listen to episode 4 of this Small Business Made Simple podcast, which was all about knowing your expertise. And of course, if you know what you're an expert at, you know what you want to be famous for. There's a great little exercise in there for that one too, which will help get this bit right. Because if you don't know what you do, then how on earth are your prospects, your clients, your customers supposed to know what you do? Remember, a confused buyer never buys. So the third step is get to know your competitors. And don't tell me you don't have anyone. Everyone has competitors. And to succeed, we have to know them, understand what they offer, who they cater to, what their price points are, where they operate, and where they find opportunities, where they succeed and where they fail. By getting a better understanding of your competitors this way, you'll see the openings for your business to find more clients, and perhaps you'll see the things that you have to do better in your business to actually get more market share. So maybe make a list of your competitors, and when you make a list of your competitors, be sure to include both traditional competitors and perhaps even businesses that are disrupting your industry. And don't forget either bricks and mortar and online competitors as well. One of my mentors actually tells a story about a dishwasher repairman who had lots of competitors within his little district that he serviced, and really struggled to get new clients. So it was suggested to him that he do a competitive analysis, find out what he was really competing with, not what he thought he was competing with. So he went and did it. He wrote a list of his competitors and rang every one of them and graded them 1 to 5 on things like their phone manner, their supply availability, their enthusiasm, etc., etc., etc. And then he actually rated his own business on the same metrics. From there, he knew what he needed to improve to start winning customers. He knew what he needed to start marketing to hit the pain points of his prospects to win their business. It seems so simple, doesn't it? But for those of you who are interested, I've actually got a table in the show notes with that competitive analysis tool. So if you're interested, head to the show notes, socialmediamarketing.com.au, and have a look at episode 25 show notes. If you've never done a competitive analysis, then maybe today's a good day to start. So my fourth and final tip about getting to know who your who is get to know where they hang out and be in that place. Where do your clients hang out? And I'm not talking necessarily a coffee shop here, but where do they hang out online and offline? Where do they hang out that you can market to them? What's the most effective way that you can market to them because you know who your who is? Do they read magazines and newspapers? Do they live in their inboxes reading emails? Or are they in LinkedIn groups or Facebook groups? Or are they on Instagram? Maybe they're Twitter people, or maybe they're avid podcast listeners just like yourself. Marketing is simple when you know where to market and what is the best source for engagement. Like if your clients never read newspapers, there is absolutely no use you putting an ad in a newspaper. Wherever they are, be there, participate there, give enormous free value, especially if it's online, so that they're so curious they click, download, or start following you or request to connect. So, of course, once you have that connection with them, find out the best way to market to them, the best way to create, a lead, to go from lead to list, to sale, to fan, because that's how your business grows, to get someone to go from a cold lead to a raving fan. That's the journey we're after. So if you're not sure of all the ways you can create leads, then head over again to my show notes. I have a list of 46 of them in there. Clearly there's too many of them to read out, but head over to the show notes and I've just got them listed there. Again, the show notes were at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au, and of course we are on episode 25. Some of the potential lead sources are things like, of course, podcasting and speaking, but there's other things like magalogs, which you may not have heard, which is, in between a magazine and a catalogue. Fantastic for certain parts of marketing for certain businesses. Maybe influencers or squeeze pages or landing pages. Maybe one of your lead sources is surveys or affiliate programs or backlinks or joint ventures. There are 46 of them in the show notes, guys. Go and have a look at them in there. So let's recap. To win more market share, to get a better return on your marketing investment, and to be more profitable in your business, it's really essential that you know who your who is. So go and download my workbook at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/client. Put aside an hour, fill out the form, be as comprehensive as you can be. Any questions, slip into the Facebook group Like-Minded Business Owners, and I'm happy to help you out there. The second one is know what you want to be famous for. What is your expertise? Number 3 was know your competitors and what you can do better to win more business, to win more market share. Number 4 was be where your ideal client or customer hangs out. Give enormous free value because success is absolutely no accident. I hope you've enjoyed today's podcast. I hope I've got you thinking about your ideal client and where they hang out and how you can win more business from your competitors. But of course, as I said, if you want to chat about it further, then let's get social on social and continue the conversation in Like-Minded Business Owners on Facebook. I'd love to hear your thoughts around knowing and finding your ideal client. Maybe you could even share with others in the group who your who is. You just never know, your ideal client might be sitting in that group just waiting for your expertise to come along. But of course, that is it for episode 25 of the Small Business Made Simple podcast. I will be back next Thursday with some more marketing know-how and another great discovery. If you're really enjoying this podcast, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and maybe share with a friend. If you've got 5 seconds to leave a rating and review, I would absolutely love that. And just a little bit of a hint, you can actually leave more than 1 rating and more than 1 review. So if you've already done it, but this podcast in particular has really resonated with you, please feel free to, again, give a great rating and a great review. I would really appreciate it. And the more I get, the more my podcast is put out to a wider audience and more people can enjoy the great training and tips and tricks that you're getting here as well. So stay on your game. Keep going for your dreams because the world needs that special gift that only you have. Thanks so much again for lending me your ears. And remember, my small business peeps, as my opening song says, there is no point in dreaming small.
If you feel lonely, say it loud. There's no time like the present. Tell it like you feel it, say it proud. Be true and let us see you for the star that you are. No point in dreaming small.